Hello again, everybody. This is Dan Clouser, and welcome back to the Journey of My Mother's Son podcast. Today I'm joined with Mike Connor, Pastor Mike Connor, the co-founder of the Dream Center of Southeast Texas. Mike, thanks for joining me today.
Well, it's really a pleasure to be here, and we're so excited that you guys got to come and be involved with us this weekend, and really just meeting you guys and your heart and your compassion for serving and for ministry. It's our pleasure as well.
Thank you. Yeah. For those of you who read my recent blog, we are down in this region to help with Hurricane Laura cleanup efforts in Lake Charles, and a mutual friend of ours got us in contact here, and we're going to stay here and drive back and forth to Lake Charles and Sulphur for a couple days. And as you come into this place, it's a little intimidating. It's on Prison Row, which Chuck left out of our conversation originally, and I was kind of wondering what we were getting into. And that first night talking to you, and you explaining the vision that you had for this place. Tell me a little bit about how it all came about. I guess first we want to even go back to your LA Dream Center days, and kind of I don't think you can talk about Southeast Texas Dream Center without talking about LA Dream Center. Just tell our listeners a little bit about that.
Well, the Dream Center was founded, the original Dream Center was founded in 1994 by Pastors Tommy and Matthew Barnett in Los Angeles. And I was privileged to be a part of that ministry in 2003, and I was tasked with the challenge of building the recovery program from a previous organization that had left, from approximately 15 individuals. And by the time we left in 2017, we had a 200-bed facility. So the concept of the Dream Center is basically just a one-stop faith-based shopping area for all kinds of social services, anywhere from poverty alleviation, clothing, food, residential programs stemming from recovery all the way up to human trafficking, and everything in between, including families, foster, veterans. And so we had worked there. I had actually worked there for about 15 years, my wife for about 17. And we met there, got married there, and God brought us into ministry together. Fast forward over the course of those 14, 15 years, and you can't stay at the Dream Center very long without starting to dream on your own. I actually thought I was living my dream when I went there in 2003, but obviously God had bigger plans. And so towards the end of our time there, God began to work on us and began to put the idea of Texas in our heart. It wasn't completely foreign because I had a daughter and 2 grandchildren here, and so we would visit the area. And then finally one day God just spoke to my heart and said that the Beaumont area needed a Dream Center. Of course, my super spiritual response was, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, that's not God. So, but when I began to do the research on the demographics and began to solve the poverty areas and the racial tension and a lot of the other things that were going on here, we came to the conclusion that this area did indeed need a Dream Center. And so we set off on a journey similar to Dan and his wife Sandy, where we actually purchased an RV. I wish I could say it was for noble reasons, but it was simply because if it didn't work out, we wouldn't be homeless. So we came out here. We started mobile outreaches initially, and then at some point we had the opportunity to come and look at this old abandoned juvenile prison. We didn't think we were in a financial position to take this over, but as we began to talk to different people, and it became clear that our vision was really the only vision that could utilize the whole property. Because of our experience in the LA Dream Center. So long story short, we presented to the county. They gave us a 20-year lease for $1 a month with 2 5-year options for renewal. So we started immediately, started working on the first few buildings, support buildings, and then in 2018 we opened one of the dorms for our men's recovery program. Have already had 1 graduation with 2 individuals, getting ready to have another graduation next month with 3 more. We call it the Success Program, and success stands for supernatural understanding for conquering chaos and eradicating self-sabotage. It's actually a holistic approach where we take the spiritual, the physical, and the emotional soul part of each person, and try to address those needs and try to offer a balanced program where it's not all spiritual, it's not all work, and it's not all sitting around in groups and singing kumbaya. We really want it to be balanced. We really want to try to make a difference in the lives of the person. And also our vision is a 3-year approach where we don't force the person to be here for 3 years. But the first phase is the 10 to 12 month recovery program. Second phase is 6 to 12 months of vocational training. And then the third phase is 6 to 12 months of transitional living. Because we want to try to help the individual be able to be a functional part of society and move back in there again. And then during the meantime, we've also been doing food outreaches, not only here on our campus, but in schools and apartments and parks around the area, as well as our clothing pantry that we operate once a month, and various different projects that we help with in the community from time to time. Most recently, the hurricane disaster relief for Laura.
And I think one of the things that really, drew me to your vision is the service component of it. Mm-hmm. And again, when we first got here, it wasn't really our plan to stay here for a couple days and help you guys. But our plan isn't always God's plan, right, clearly. And when we attended the devotional service, God was speaking to both, Sandy and I, and saying, you need to spend a couple days here. And, watching the guys, we helped them package the food for today's drive yesterday, and, just watching really how excited they were to be able to give back. And I know in previous conversations when the camera wasn't rolling, the microphones weren't on, we talked about how addiction is a very selfish, yes, action, and the service component is one of the ways to get them out of that selfish behavior. So just talk a little bit, sure, about why you think that is so important.
Yeah, addictions are very selfish, and it's all about the individual that's going through the addiction at the moment, and really just they don't care about nothing but the next fix or the next hit. And so part of what we did, obviously we want to have them come to a supernatural understanding of who God is and who they were created to be. But the next phase in that, and probably the longest phase in that, is the conquering chaos. I'm really big on acronyms because it helps people remember, and so I have an acronym for chaos. And it's simply put, creating hell around ourselves. And so that's what addicts tend to do, is just create hell, create drama, whatever you want to call it, around themselves. And so what we try to do, what we figured is very helpful, is getting them involved in our outreaches and really trying to see that there's other people that have needs, and just being there and seeing the smile and hearing the testimonies. I mean, one time, we had one lady drive in and she was praying for a job, and the next time she came by, she's like, I got a praise report, and it's like, well, tell me. And she got a job. We had actually prayed specifically for her to get a job, and she got a job. And so the guys get to hear this, and they get to see this, and they get to see the smiles on the faces of the individuals when their needs are met. And that's really what the Dream Center is here. The LA Dream Center has a motto, find a need and fill it, find a hurt and heal it. We've kind of expanded on that a little bit, and ours is building a better tomorrow, making a difference today. And so that's what we want to do. We all want to try to build a better tomorrow, but the way that we do that is by making a difference today. And if you can read my shirt, you can see that we've shortened that to a hashtag simply called Be the Difference. And so if you really want to build a better tomorrow, if you really want to make a difference today, then you have to learn to be the difference. And that's what we're teaching these guys in the program, is to learn to be the difference.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, we saw that firsthand today. The people coming through, how grateful they were to receive the food that they were given today. And again, the guys just reciprocating that, and how happy they were and truly blessed to help others. So I think that goes a long way in that recovery process when you're not overthinking yourself.
It's funny because sometimes they'll come out and they'll be in a bad mood. It's like, but then by the end of the day, after giving, their countenance has totally changed. Yeah. And you see them smiling and laughing and carrying on because they were the difference to somebody. Yeah. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that, I mean, it is so funny where you go into that and the objective is to help someone else. But I think at the end of the day, like you just said, you actually end up helping yourself. And I told you a little bit about the organization I used to be involved with, how we would get our kids involved in giving back. And a lot of times for them, it was like, all right, I'll volunteer because I'm going to get out of school for a day.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
and they still had to get up early in the morning. So like you said, they would show up and they'd be a little grumpy, and
Yeah.
weren't real happy about having to be up at 6 o'clock in the morning. But by the time the end of the day rolled around, I mean, they're just smiling from ear to ear and thanking us for, having them come out and get involved. And I think that's so important. I mean, that's been something that's been part of my life. You know, so much is just, giving back and what you get out of that. So I think that's what really, when we were talking the other night, what really drew me to want to stick around and serve with you guys for a little bit is that component of giving back. So I think volunteerism is a lost art in today's day and age, and I think the more people that are out there doing that, the better off we are. 'Cause I mean, we're all in this together isn't just a good phrase, it's a fact. And I think the more people understand that, the better off we are.
Well, and I think that, we look at the different generations, and I hate the labels that get put on the different generations, but the fact of the matter is when you look at whatever one generation tolerates, the next generation embraces.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's so very important that we understand. And so it's like, I remember, my generation, and I'm guilty just as much as anyone else. And it's like putting my daughter sometimes in front of the TV, which I'm thankful that she loved Nick at Night, and she absolutely adored I Love Lucy reruns. So it was like, but that carries over into the following generation to where now my grandkids, they've grown up on all these whatever they're called, I don't even know what they're called. So
PS3s or
PS3s or whatever they are, the PlayStations and things like that. So, but it's important to help them understand that it's not about them. It's not about their pleasure, and that's really, not only do we cater to these guys and try to help them through their addictions, but we really partner with different organizations. Like we partner with a basketball club that comes out here, a nonprofit, to where they get the young people to come out here and get involved in sports to keep them out of trouble. We're actually, one of our donors is wanting me to explore the possibility of setting up some cubicles here for internet for some of the kids that don't have internet at home, that they're having to do their schoolwork, by not going to classroom, but they're sitting at Starbucks around tables because they don't have the internet. And so we're looking at that, trying to make a safe place here, because what we believe is that if we learn to make a difference with the younger generation, then we won't have to deal with them when they get to the age of where we have to intervene and try to help them off the addictions that they're going through.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that we always said about our program is, our goal is if we can get them young enough,
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they don't end up here, I mean, that's the
Yes.
ultimate goal is that someday you run out of work.
Absolutely. Hey, I'd love to retire.
So with that being said, I want to ask you, the other day at breakfast, you kind of let it out that by the time this lease is over, you're going to be 90 years old.
Yes.
So you're 70 years old now.
60. Don't rush it.
Nope.
Don't rush it.
Yes, sir. And should be thinking about retirement.
Yes.
But you decide to take on this project.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the other day you just said, well, it's a God thing, but expand on that a little bit. I mean, why would someone 60 years of age be looking to take on this massive undertaking, this facility?
I really have no idea.
It's a God thing.
It's Pastor Tommy always told us that if your dream is not bigger than you, it's not a God thing. It's not a God dream. We came out here, I'll confess, our dream wasn't very big. I mean, our dream was we're going to start off with outreaches in the park, kind of basically the calling card of the Dream Center, if you will, is what's called Adopt a Block, where you reach out into the neighborhood and you build relationships. You use giving away product, food, whatever it may be. You use that simply as a business card to get the attention of people, and then you start building the relationships. And so from there, then you begin to learn the hurts, and then when you learn the hurts, you can start ministering to those hurts. And so that was our process, and we figured eventually we would rent, 4 or 5 bedroom house and start a small program and go from there. But God had other dreams, and it was one of those things as we were going to different meetings around the region, the coalition meetings for social services and homelessness, and one of the things people kept saying to us is, and they knew about the Dream Center in LA, and they're like, that old prison out on Highway 69, that would make a good dream center. And I'm like, I don't know. That's a lot of work, to really do something out there. And we just kept hearing it. We kept hearing it, and then we met a pastor's wife, who they actually lived in L.A. for a while, and her husband was a youth pastor out there. And when they came here, they saw this facility, and she kept praying that it would be used for a dream center. And so you can blame Kim for that. She's the one that prayed for this, but. It's really an honor and a privilege to be able to do this, and I think it stems back to the fact that it's really easy, and I know people look at that and say you can't mean that, but I'm like, I really do. Pastor Tommy, or actually Pastor Matthew, has a message that he talks about his dad, and how his dad is just kind of coasting in his later years, he's mid-80s, and he's still out there going around raising money for the Dream Center. And how that Pastor Tommy will say, I'm just clipping off coupons, like all the things that he's done, he's just clipping off the coupons and cashing them in.
Right.
And I remember every year in LA, we would have what was called a Christmas offering, or Happy Birthday Jesus offering, and Miracle offering. And so every year, we would start planning and we would start giving in that. And I'll confess, there were some years I didn't have the money. I put it on my credit card because I felt like it was important to do that and to give sacrificially. And so we did. And when you hear of other people and other friends that are getting blessed, and they're getting to walk more to their dreams, and we're sitting back thinking, okay, God, when's it our turn? When is our turn going to happen? When is our turn going to happen? But what God was doing was, in that process, He was building up our faith to just simply rely on Him. Because when we got here, after about 3 months, savings began to run low. I got a job. With the job, we were able to move into a house from our RV. And then about 3 months into that house, Harvey hit, and we lost everything. And my worst fear, coming out here, we're going to be homeless. We had 7 feet of water in our home, and we weren't able to get back into it for like 2 weeks. And it was an absolute mess. But the first thing that somebody did is, some friends in California, they bought another RV, because we brought a guy out from California. He was now living in our RV. They bought another RV, drove it all the way across country, gave it to us, and then helped us clean out our house.
Wow.
And from that moment, one of the pastors at a church in California, his son came through our program. He gifted us with our first $10,000, gift. And then Joyce Meyer Ministries gifted us with a $10,000 gift. I was over the recovery program when Joyce's brother was in there. And so they gifted us with a gift to be able to help us buy a truck for hurricane relief. And so it just, at that moment, I began to understand what Pastor Matthew and Pastor Tommy were talking about just clipping off coupons.
Right.
And it was just like God had held, and I don't give knowing that God's going to give me. I do give expecting a blessing, but not necessarily financial, but just for God to be able to meet those needs, because I think it's biblical that we give so that we can get, so we can give more, so we can get, so we can give more. And so all of a sudden it was like the windows of heaven opened, and all of these finances just came pouring in. I went to a men's meeting after we got the lease on this. We needed $10,000 for the fire and life safety for the 3 buildings. I met a guy that told me, I'm supposed to meet you, and said that he would supply us with the $10,000. And then lo and behold, he gave us $25,000 when it all came down to it. So it's just one thing like that after another that has happened in this whole process. And of course, you can't put a monetary value on the souls that we've been able to touch here. While I was in LA, I was privileged to touch about 6,000 individuals during that time there. And we're starting to count here. It's only in the hundreds here now, but over the past year and a half, almost 2 years, and we're starting to see results. We're starting to see people, even when they leave, and maybe they didn't leave under the best situations. Maybe they got mad and they left. I just got a text today, from a young man saying, I'm sorry I left the way I did, but I needed to move on, and doing well, got a good support system, going to Celebrate Recovery, and continuing to move forward. And it wasn't like he had just come in. He'd been here for a little while. And sometimes, um, my plans don't always turn out the way that I think they should.
Right.
But the most important thing is that people receive what God has for them, and they allow that transformation to take place. And I know I'm rambling, and I'm so sorry,
No,
but it's like
absolutely not.
I get very passionate about this. It's what I do. I live and breathe, and I think I went on a way tangent from what you asked me, but it's
No, absolutely not.
it's in my DNA. Is all I can say. Colonel Sanders was, I think, 63 when he first started out. Moses was 80. Um, you know, so here I am at 60. So.
Yeah. When you talk about the 6,000 lives that you touched in LA and a couple hundred you've touched here, I mean, I think the other component of that is that ripple effect. Is that when they leave here and now they're going out and touching lives and making differences because now they're on the right track and they have a relationship with God and they understand the importance of giving back. I don't know that you can put a number on that.
No.
I don't know that you can put a number on that 6,000 plus a couple hundred. It's probably in the hundreds of thousands, if not more.
I know some ministries and some ministry heads, they want to look for spiritual children that will continue the legacy in the ministry portion, and that's good, that's important, and we're looking for that person because, like he mentioned, I'm 60 and I need that person soon. But I get the biggest kick out of individuals that just go back, get married, raise a family, and raise their kids in a godly home. And they may have had a godly home, but they strayed from it. But being there for them and learning that lesson of trying to help them through the struggles of life. And I call them my spiritual grandchildren, where there are babies running around today that if their parents hadn't got their life back on track, those babies wouldn't be here. And it's not about me. I'm not trying to make it about me. It's about God transforming their lives and allowing me to have just a small part of that. I mean, out of 70, 80 years that people live, I had 1 year of their life, and it's like that much. That's just that much. And so I'm just so excited to see what God has for us and what He has for the future. We're believing God for $1 million gift that's going to help us finish out these buildings out of 13 buildings. We only have 4 that are operational, and I have the fire marshal coming in a few days that wants to look over things, and hopefully we'll be able to keep going forward and not backwards, but desire your prayers in that for favor with that. But just really believing God that we're going to get this thing up and running and kick it up to the next level.
That's awesome. So we're just about out of time, but as I told you, the subtitle of the podcast is Many Little People, Many Little Places, which is derived from lyrics of a song that open up that say, when many little people in many little places do many little things and the whole world changes. And like I said, we have probably already answered the question, but if you could pinpoint one little thing that you're doing in this world to make it a better place, what would you say that is?
Giving people hope. I like to tell the people that I minister to that in their old lifestyle they had a dope pusher, but now they have a hope pusher. And so I just want to push hope on them and just give them that different fix.
I've got a friend in Boca Raton, Florida, who says he is the biggest hope dealer in South Hope dealers, so he wants to be a hope dealer.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny to have you say that as well. So before we sign off, let the people know how can they make a contribution to the Dream Center, website address, Facebook, all that sort of stuff. How can people get involved out
Well,
there?
first off, we tell people 3 things. Number 1, we need your prayers. We could not have done the things we have done without the prayers of God-fearing, faith-believing people like yourself that are our heroes and are actually praying for us. Secondly, volunteers. Not only local volunteers, but we have a program called a voluntary missionary program. If you'd like to be part of that, you can contact us either through our website, Dream Center, setx.org, SETX for Southeast Texas. It's very important that you get the X and the T in the right order, or you will wind up someplace else. So, but Dream Center, setx.org. And then also our Facebook page is at Dream Center, SETX, Dream Center, SETX. for Southeast Texas. Our number is 409-234-5255. You can reach us by email at info@dreamcentersetx.org, and just encourage us. Even if you just want to drop us a line and just say, we're praying for you, that would mean all the world to us, and we would definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And for anybody else like Sandy and I who are living in an RV, you can swing by here, hook up for a couple days, get involved, volunteer. They hooked us up with 30 amp service and water and sewer, and we're just loving every minute that we're here.
We don't have 50 amp yet,
right,
but we're working on it.
You got a herd of goats running around all day long, and some chickens, and just interacting with the guys here is really so special to me. We're going to remember every individual that we've met here. They've all made a huge impact on both my life and Sandy's life in just a short period of time, and we're grateful to be able to spend this time with you guys. It's been amazing, and I think you're probably going to see us back here a couple
Yes,
of
sir.
times.
We would love it. We'll have another God encounter.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
Folks, as always, check out my other blogs and podcasts at danclouser.com. Mike, thank you so much for joining me today.
All right. God bless.
Thanks.